Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. Today is my birthday and I just turned 22. And in honor of that, I wanted to share 22 life lessons that I've picked up along the way. We're going to be talking about friendships, we're going to be talking about life, we're going to be talking about relationships, we're going to be talking about money, and we're going to be going fast. So grab a notebook, grab a pen, and let's get into it with lesson number 1. Imagine your future and know that you're probably wrong. Now, this is something that I heard a lot of throughout my life. People were always telling me, oh, you can't predict the future, so don't get too attached to your image of it, or, oh, where I am right now isn't where I thought I'd be, and that's actually a lot better than what I thought. And I was always just like, okay, yeah, whatever kind of thing. Let me just create another vision board. And I've never really internalized it up until now. If you've been following along with my journey, you'll know that I just moved to the East Coast. In fact, I'm in my brand new apartment here in Boston. Apartment tour will be coming soon, I promise. But if you had told me 4 years ago, or hell, even at the start of this year, that I'd be here in an apartment in Boston for my 22nd birthday, I would have called you crazy. You see, by now I thought I'd be living over on the West Coast, somewhere in LA, probably doing the dropout creator artist lifestyle thing, but instead here I am on the East Coast, going back to school. And what it's taught me is that your future likely won't look anything like what you imagine it to be. And so instead of expecting it to be a certain way, instead we can make the effort and try to be accepting of it. And for better or for worse, it makes all the difference. 2, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. And that's why I'm going back to school, to get my ego absolutely demolished. Number 3, you won't know until you go. Now, most of you are probably here because you saw my video of me meeting my girlfriend for the very first time, but if you haven't yet, the basic premise of that video is that you'll never know what the right decision is until you actually make it. Up until we make a decision and we actually take action on it, we're just guessing and pontificating. And I don't know about y'all, but I can't tell the future, but if you can, just hit me up. I have a lot of questions. Now, there are actually helpful questions that you can ask before making a decision, and that takes us to lesson number 4. Instead of asking, does this feel right? Ask, how can I make this feel right? Now, if you're anything like me, sometimes we can develop the unhealthy habit of waiting our entire lives for the perfect opportunity to arrive. We want a sign, a clear signal from the great unknown to move in this direction, all the while we're letting opportunity after opportunity pass us by. You see, we spend so much time thinking about whether something feels right or not instead of actually taking the necessary action in order to make it feel right. For example, with my decision to go back to school, things really started to change for me when I started asking myself, what doesn't feel right? Oh, it was this thing and this thing and this thing. Oh, okay. So if I actually fixed those issues and found a solution to them, would it then feel right? And so it's a very practical approach to finding clarity that I hope helps you as well. Lesson number 5, the smarter you get, the dumber you feel. Have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect or imposter syndrome? If not, here's a graphic from one of my favorite Instagram pages that explains it way better than I could. And from my own personal experience, I find this to be especially true with musicians. Some of the best musicians that I've ever met in my life also tend to be the least confident. And let's just say the most confident musicians that I've ever met in my life, the more you learn, the more you realize that there's so much out there that you don't even know yet. And that leads us to lesson number 6. You don't know what you don't yet know. Here's how I like to conceptualize knowledge. We all love a good matrix, so here y'all go. In this corner over here, we have known knowns. These are the things that you know, and this is where you're most confident. In this quadrant over here, we have known unknowns. These are the things that you know that you do not know. In this quadrant over here, we have unknown knowns. These are the things that you just do but aren't even aware of. Some might call this a gift or a talent. And over in this corner, we have unknown unknowns. The things that you don't know that you don't even know. The trick is to find that balance of being confident in what you do know while simultaneously tempering it with the knowledge that you're always going to be at the tip of the iceberg. Now, lessons number 7 up till 9 are going to be a lot of quotes, so we're going to start it off with a quote from James Clear. The highest level of mastery is simplicity. Most information is irrelevant and most effort is wasted, but only the expert knows what to ignore. And here's another James Clear quote because I am a huge Atomic Habits fanboy. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Everybody in the Olympics has the same goal, to win the gold medal. But not everybody does. If it was a matter of just having the right goal, then of course everyone would win, but we know that's not the case. Instead, it's the person with the best practice routine, the best habits, the best system. Number 9, the backwards law. This one's another excerpt from a book that I love, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F*** by Mark Manson. The desire for more positive experience is itself a negative experience. And paradoxically, the acceptance of one's negative experience is itself a positive experience. It's what the philosopher Alan Watts used to refer to as the backwards law, the idea that the more you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become, as pursuing something only reinforces the fact that you lack it in the first place. Number 10, Sahil Bloom's opinion razor. First off, if you don't know what a razor is, it's what I use every 3 weeks because I cannot grow facial hair like that and I'll never have a beard in my life. Anyway, sorry. A razor is a rule of thumb that helps making decisions easier. And I found this on Twitter by Sahil Bloom. In his words, opinions are earned, not owed. If you can't state the opposition's argument clearly, then you haven't earned an opinion. So now that we've got all these books and quotes in our system, it's time for lesson 11. Reading books won't make you better. Whoa, then what was the point of all these quotes, all these books? What are you doing here? What is this about? Let me explain. You see, knowledge isn't power, it's only potential power. It's the application of that knowledge that is actual power, and that's what makes all the difference. Okay, we're halfway through the video. Are y'all doing okay? I'm still doing okay. I need water. Make sure that you're taking a good break. This is a lot of info, I know. So we gotta stay hydrated. Also, if you're enjoying this video so far, please obliterate the like button. It only takes 3 seconds, and it massively helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. In exchange, here is a cute picture of a capybara. Alright, thank you, Mr. Capybara. Let's get into it with lesson number 12. You don't actually want complete freedom. So when it came time for me to make the decision as to whether or not I was going to go back to school or pursue a different option, one of the main factors in that was me being able to have control over my time. Having been a dropout for 3 years, I didn't relish the idea of having an institution dictate my schedule to me. And so for the summer at least, I chose the option that gave me the most freedom. I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I didn't necessarily have to worry about work. And on paper, it sounds great. It sounds fabulous, you know? Like, you get to control your time and do whatever you want. Sounds fantastic. But once I landed and got into a rhythm, I very quickly realized that complete freedom wasn't actually what I wanted. I find that I function best with a structure. It gives me something to work within. It's Parkinson's law. If you're not aware of what Parkinson's law is, it's the principle that work expands to fill the amount of time that you give it. For example, if you're given 3 months to write an essay, you're gonna take 3 months to write it, or you'll probably write it the night before. But if you're given 2 hours to write an essay, you're gonna get it done. What's the difference? The structure around it. But of course, it's completely different for everyone. If you're the type of person that functions just fine without any limitations, then, you know, go for it, do your thing. But if you're like me and you need structure in order to perform and work best, I would encourage you to think, how can I create limitations and structure and routine around myself in order to be the best that I can be? Lesson number 13, if worrying won't change it, then stop worrying. I know, easier said than done. Of course, it's a practice. I'm still learning how to do this myself. But the good news is, most things don't change whether or not you're worrying about them or not. And so logically, why? So the next 3 lessons all have to do with money. So let's get into it with lesson number 14. This is one that I actually learned from Annie. Spend your money where you spend your time. For example, let's say you're working on your feet all day. It makes sense then to invest in a good high quality pair of shoes because you're going to be spending a lot of your time in those shoes. So use this as permission to get yourself a new pair of shoes. You're welcome. Number 15, money is a magnifier. I'm a big believer that money doesn't change people, but more so amplifies who they already are on the inside most of the time. For example, if you're a super generous person without money, having more money means that you're going to be able to be more generous. But let's say you're already like a really big jerk without money. Money is just going to make you an even bigger jerk. Number 16, nobody will value you more than you value yourself. This one's specifically for all my freelance creative homies out there. If you're anything like me, whatever you're charging right now, it's probably not enough. So set the bar high. You deserve it. All right, enough about money. Let's get back to talking about other things. Number 17, the projection principle. I secretly think that everybody hates me. And I know probably a few people do, but the vast majority are very loving, kind people. And so what helps me remember that is this principle. If nobody's explicitly told you that they hate you, but you still assume that they secretly do, you're most likely just projecting your own internal self-judgment and self-criticism onto them. Number 18, Nothing is personal unless you choose to take it personally. Lesson number 19 is something that I actually learned while completing my NYVC voice teacher certification training in New York City. Yes, I am a certified vocal coach. Oh yeah. And one of our guest lecturers was a 12-time Broadway veteran, and he's been in huge shows, and this is his advice regarding stage fright. If you can't pinpoint exactly what you're afraid of, maybe you're just excited. Now, if you're familiar with Mel Robbins' work, then this is probably going to sound familiar, but if you're not, Mel Robbins, fantastic lady, what she says is basically nervousness and excitement are two sides of the same coin. They're the exact same physiologically. For example, when you're nervous, what do you feel? Palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomits on your sweaty already, mom's spaghetti. And then when you're excited, what do you feel as well? Same thing. The only difference is what we choose to tell ourselves in our brain. When we're nervous, we're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be the worst thing ever. When we're excited, we're like, oh, I'm excited. And while we're on the topic of fear, lesson number 20, fear makes it clear. Now, this is one of my favorite aphorisms that I have ever come up with. It's like a guiding principle in my life. I basically have kind of my entire spiel about it memorized. Okay, let's go. Fear is a compass, and most of the time it points us towards true north, towards the thing that's most important for our evolution as people. The fear of the unknown, the fear of rejection, the fear of standing out, everything that's necessary for growth. So whenever I'm picking a video idea, I never ask, oh, which one's gonna go the most viral? Which one's gonna do best in the algorithm? None of that. Instead, I ask, which topic scares me the most? And then I go in that direction. Number 21, your gift isn't guaranteed. This one goes out to all of the procrastinating artists out there. Me, I am the biggest procrastinator out of all of them. 2021 was the scariest year in my music career. I lost some of my hearing. I even lost my voice for a month because I injured it, and I also nearly developed tendonitis. All in all, it was terrifying. But what it taught me is that the thing that you love to do the most could be taken away from you just like that. We delay and defer, postpone and procrastinate all under the assumption that we can just do it tomorrow. But the thing is, your gift isn't guaranteed tomorrow. So don't wait, just create. And lastly, we are at the very end. We've made it through such a long video. You and I are basically friends now. Thank you for sticking around this long. I love the fact that you're here. Thank you. Lesson number 22. When you want nothing, you have everything. This one is a lesson that will probably take me a lifetime to fully understand and fully practice. But here's a quote by Naval that kind of sums up the idea. Desire is a contract that you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. And in the first world, most of our problems stem from not necessarily having too little desire, but from having too many. For example, oh, my seat is so uncomfortable, I wish I had a Herman Miller. Or, oh, I wish I had a Tesla, my neighbor drives one and he looks so cool. Or, oh, my coffee is too cold, they should know better, they should know who I am. But of course, not all desire is bad. I think it's just important to be aware of the cost that comes with it. And so my suggestion would be to find a few things that are worth being unhappy over. And whatever that looks like to you, only you can decide that. And as for the rest, let them go. And with that, my friends, those are the 22 life lessons. I'm sure I'm gonna look back on this when I'm older and be like, wow, I was really dumb when I was 22, but we're working on it. We're learning. Anyways, thank you for joining me thus far. I will get all those new videos out to you from this summer that I've been procrastinating on. I will get those all out to you, and I will also give you an apartment tour coming up very soon. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.